What's up, everyone? This is Xavier, your host, and welcome to the 210 Stockyard.
Welcome back to another episode. This is the Week 2 recap, and folks, Week 2 did not disappoint. We saw more moments of intense action and gameplay, and we saw UFL history being made with the first 4th and 12 conversion of the season. We also had the season's first pick 6, and a new Spring League attendance record being set. So let's go ahead and dive right in, starting with the final scores. Game 1 was another early morning 11 a.m. start for the Brahmas, but the Showboats are the ones who started out early and fast, and pretty much dominated for the first 3 quarters. Cookis was cooking, then got cooked as the Brahmas stampeded in the last 2 minutes to sink the Showboats' home opener with a 20-19 come-from-behind victory. Game 2 was a historic night for the Battlehawks and for the UFL, as St. Louis set an all-time spring football attendance record with 40,000 plus birds all cawing at once. AJ McCarron won the shootout against Luis Perez and the Arlington Renegades and flew out of the dome at America's Center with a 27-24 victory. Sunday's first game featured the Michigan Panthers at home against the Birmingham Stallions, and Birmingham's running backs and defense continue to perform like thoroughbreds. The Panthers weren't on the prowl for long as the Stallions' dual quarterback system prevailed in a 20-13 victory. And the last game brought back another beer snake sighting as DC defended their home base against the Houston Roughnecks. This one seemed close at times, but DC softened up the Roughnecks and raised their shields to a 23-18 victory. And after Week 2, the conferences are now tied with 2 games apiece in the head-to-head matchups. I'm honestly loving the competition that I'm seeing from both leagues. Folks, it's healthy competition. It doesn't mean I want to see either conference fail, but I am an XFL guy, so I will take the conference versus conference rivalry for this season. And again, I'm rooting for the XFL. And don't forget, folks, rivalries are a part of sports. It's what makes it great. Just embrace it, guys. Here are the conference standings after Week 2. San Antonio and Birmingham sit atop their respective conferences, while Houston and Arlington are still searching for their first win. The remaining teams all sit at 1-1, and after 2 weeks of action, we have 2 undefeated teams remaining. Here are the league rankings according to the official UFL.com. And by the way, shout out to the UFL analyst who made these graphics that I commandeered for this episode. It does help when someone has already made graphics for me to utilize, so I do appreciate that. The Brahmas are listed as first overall in the league and Birmingham second. Here is the bottom half of the league, with Houston coming in dead last, but I honestly think a change is coming with Reed Sinnett now at the helm. And is anyone else surprised to see that the defending XFL champs haven't won a game yet? Let's take a look at some of the individual player stats now throughout Week 2, starting with quarterbacks, and it looks like AJ McCarron and Chase Garbers are firmly in the number 1 and number 2 spot, but I'm going to give the number 1 to Chase Garbers. He may be third in passing yards, but he's number 1 in passing touchdowns. He's number 1 in completions with 48, and it's not just that he has the most completions, he also has the highest completion percentage at 74%. He's number 1 in his passer rating at 111, and he also happens to be the starting quarterback of my San Antonio Brahmas. Marcel Aitman comes in at number 1 in receiving yards with 174. The Brahmas' Marquez Stevenson is behind him at 143. And the Panthers' Marcus Sims is number 3 at 134. Reception-wise, the Brahmas' John Trey Kirkland comes in at number 1 with 15 receptions. And this is a little closer with Darius Shepard and Dawood Davis right behind him. And it's no surprise that Marcel Aitman comes in number 1 in receiving touchdowns with 3. And John Trey Kirkland behind him with 2. Next up are the leading rushers, and once again, Birmingham has the top 2 rushers in the league. Running back CJ Marable comes in at 121 rushing yards, while quarterback Adrian Martinez is right behind him with 117. And as previously mentioned, here are your rushing leaders through Week 2. Let's see how long Marable Martinez can hold on to that. Moving on to the defense, here are the league's leading tacklers. Michigan's Frank Guinda and the Brahmas' Jordan Mosley both come in at 19 tackles, leading the league. San Antonio's Jordan Williams is right behind them with 17. And I love seeing this because if you look at the top 10 tacklers in the league, the Brahmas have 5 out of 10 on their team. Pretty solid defense there from the Brahmas. The Stallions have the league's leading sack leader in Carlos Davis with 3.5 sacks. The Showboats' Max Roberts and the Stallions' Taco Charlton are right behind him with 3 sacks each. Here are your league defensive leaders through week 2. As I mentioned, Jordan Mosley and Guinda come in tied for number 1 with 19 tackles each. Though Jordan Mosley leads in solo tackles, he comes in number 1 with 13. And the Stallions' Carlos David through week 2 is the sack leader. And just to keep it fair, here are the kicking leaders through week 2. A lot of solid numbers here actually from kickers all around the league. And I think the biggest surprise is the kicker that came in with the most hype, Donald Delahaye, has yet to complete a field goal attempt. Here were the MVP power rankings from week 1. Matt Corral came in at number 1, Chase Garbers came in at number 2. And you'll notice, things look a little different after week 2. Garbers now sits at the number 1 spot, A.J. McCarron took over the number 2, and Mateo Durant and Luis Perez snuck in at number 3 and 4. Now from the official UFL Communications Department, Michigan placed wide receiver Devin Ross on injured reserve and re-signed wide receiver Samson Nakua, who was released during the second round of cuts in training camp and is now reunited with his brother Kai Nakua. In other player moves, the Brahmas unfortunately have been busy. Week 2 took its toll on San Antonio, and the Brahmas released wide receiver TJ Vasher and placed starting All-XFL center Alex Mollett on injured reserve. Mollett is expected to be out for at least 5 weeks with a knee injury. TJ Vasher's release is unfortunate as he was a fan favorite from last year's team, but only totaled 2 plays so far this season. But the biggest move the Brahmas made was placing kicker Donald Delahaye, aka Destroying, on the injured reserve list with a fractured neck. Delahaye suffered the injury during a tackle that he made in week 2. He, unfortunately, will be out for the remainder of the season. Now, in his place, they have signed kicker Ryan Santoso, who has played with 7 different NFL teams since 2020, most recently with the Giants. Apparently, Matt Amendola did not want to return to the team, and it looks like Santoso is our new guy. And one more big move for the Brahmas is the return of wide receiver Calvin Turner. I have been waiting so long to see this guy play. I'm glad that they're bringing him back and he'll finally have a chance. As James Larson of PFN just states here, Turner was one of the shocking releases at the end of training camp as everyone raved about his playmaking abilities. A lot of his teammates said that he was probably one of the more versatile and athletic players on the team, so yes, it was a shock when they let him go, and I am just thrilled to see that he is back. The last move that we have here belongs to the Houston Roughnecks as they bring back a familiar face. Quarterback Kenji Bahar will rejoin the team as their number 3 quarterback. Bahar was with the Houston team when they were still the Gamblers of the USFL. And for those of you that pay attention to things like this, here are the TV ratings for the Week 2 matchups. The most watched game was the Stallions versus Panthers on ESPN. It peaked at 1.1 million viewers. The games across the board averaged about 142,000 viewers per game, which, yes, I know is a dip from the ratings from Week 1, but is an overall increase of 38% viewers when compared to the ratings of last year's XFL and USFL. So whether you guys want to hear it or even believe it, the TV ratings are looking good. These are positive numbers, guys. Especially when you consider what the competition was for the week. The UFL was going up against the men's Final Four tournament, the women's Final Four tournament, which actually drew in a higher audience than the men's did, and WrestleMania. So like I said, decent numbers, especially when you're considering the competition. In attendance, St. Louis had over 40,000 people for their home opener, DC over 15,000, Michigan and Memphis come in at the bottom, both having under 9,000 people for their home games. And with the 40,000 plus fans in attendance for the Battlehawks home opener, St. Louis set the Spring League attendance record. So congratulations to Battlehawk fans. You guys are undeniably the undisputed UFL attendance champs. Here is the Week 3 lineup, guys. It is days away. I am super excited. The first game features the Arlington Renegades at home taking on the DC Defenders. And while I'm not going to give a score or my prediction on the over and under, I'm just going to say I really don't think Arlington will go 0-3 on the season. I do think this is going to be more of a defensive battle, so perhaps maybe I will take the under in this one. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the Renegades will pull off the victory in what I think will be a close game, so I'm taking the Renegades at home. Next matchup is the home opener for the USFL defending champs, the Birmingham Stallions. In fact, the day before the game, I want to say Friday night, they're planning on having a pep rally / ring ceremony. So I'm hoping that draws in a crowd. They're taking on the Memphis Showboats. And for the first time this year, I'm going to choose the Birmingham Stallions to win this game. But who knows, maybe now that I'm finally picking them, they'll actually lose. Let's see if my picking them ends up jinxing them. But I do expect them to win this game against Memphis. We'll see. First game on Sunday, we have the Michigan Panthers at home taking on the Houston Roughnecks. This one is a little hard for me to call because I don't think either team's more dominant over the other. And normally in cases like this, I would give whoever has home field advantage the win. But I can't help but think that we might see a turnaround in Houston with Reed Sinnett at the helm. I do think that he is that much of a difference maker, and in fact may be the reason why I'm picking Houston to win their first game over Michigan in Week 3. Finally, the headliner for Week 3 is my San Antonio Brahmas against the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Brahmas are at home. And folks, I've had this game circled on my calendar throughout the offseason, training camp. Reason being, if you guys didn't watch the XFL last year, San Antonio lost to the St. Louis Battlehawks in the same way that Memphis just lost to the Brahmas. What the Brahmas did to the Showboats in Week 2 is pretty much exactly what the Battlehawks did to the Brahmas last year in Week 1. I was at that game, it was intense, I was excited, and I was heartbroken to see the Battlehawks come from behind and beat us. I actually expect a lot of points in this game. I think it's going to be a lot of high-flying play calling, so I actually anticipate the over in this matchup. And I'm picking the Brahmas over the Battlehawks as they continue their revenge tour. And with that being said, folks, it's time to pack the dome. There are no excuses left for people not to show. It's a 3 p.m. game locally. They're finally not playing at 11 a.m. in the morning. There's no religious holiday going on. There's no other major sporting events going on. San Antonio, get your ass to the game. They have tickets starting at $15. They're also offering a buy one get one deal in select sections. Take your neighbor, take the homie, ask a girl out, take her to the game. Just show up, guys. Wear yellow, be loud, be rowdy, and cheer on the Brahmas as they continue their revenge tour. But there it is, folks. That is the Week 2 recap. Let me know what you think. Who do you think is the front runner for MVP? Are you surprised at any of the moves and additions made by some of these teams? Will either of the winless teams finally get their first win this weekend? Will the Brahmas continue to dominate? We'll find out as the Week 3 matchups are just a few days away, but I do appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to me. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Hit the notification tab as well, that way you know when the new episode is out. If you're in San Antonio, stop by the Alamo Dome on April the 14th. I'll be there early drinking in the parking lot before the game. Say hi if you see me. But until then, stay tuned for another episode of the 210 Stockyard.